The African Cup of Nations, a tournament known for its flamboyant fans, superstitious rituals, and unpredictable finishes. But this year, the biggest surprises of the tournament
You surprised us.
I'll say you did.
are in its absentees and the unusual set of events that have reshaped African football. Despite being Africa's two largest economies and football markets, Nigeria and South Africa have failed to qualify for the first time in the post-apartheid era. But how can a football-obsessed country with a population of over 180 million and the only African country to host a World Cup both miss out on the country's most prestigious tournament?
Every time that pride is tainted or is diminished in any way, it hurts us. It hurts us real bad. So yes, fans are not happy.
Obviously, it's disappointing, but it's in a point where we've gotten used to it. We even now know the routine of how to watch a major tournament without our national team in it.
Historically speaking, Nigeria has long been regarded as the African powerhouse. Since bursting onto the scene at USA 94 in their iconic Kuji-looking kits, the Golden Eagles have tallied 2 AFCON titles and have won more World Cup games than any other African country. Perhaps more impressive is their record 5 under-17 World Cup trophies, including back-to-back titles in 2013 and 15.
I mean, it's a question we've got to ask ourselves again. In 2013, we won the World Cup. 2015, we won another World Cup. Logically, in 10 years, in 7 years, we should have a really, really good team. But nobody's excited. Nobody's really celebrating these wins because we expect that despite having won these World Cups, these guys will most likely fade away.
But Nigeria's inability to refine its consistent churn of raw talent into a successful top-level squad has made the Eagles world football's greatest underachievers.
There is a philosophy that we have lost as the Super Eagles. We had that in the 80s down to the mid-90s.
The problem is purely administrative. The administrative structure we have at the Nigerian Football Federation is failing us. The president is not doing what we expect him to do.
I'm going to go the way of the administrators. They have got to formulate a way, a pathway for these lads.
If there was a viable league in Nigeria that was that paid them good money, that meant that they could go on and be financially successful to some extent, maybe they'll stay home for 2-3 years, develop as men.
Whoever it is, you're going to have to talk to them and say, you know what, no matter where you head out all day, at the end of the day, you need to be part of the Super Eagles lineup, and you're basically tracking their progresses.
We have people who are merely politicians and just care about enriching themselves and not particularly fans of the game.
Nigeria's woes came to a head last year when, amidst political turmoil in the Nigerian FA, a decline in oil prices sent the country into a deep recession. And last summer, just as the Olympic squad prepared for their opening match in Rio, the FA's funds ran so dry that they could barely afford to fly the team to Brazil. Adding insult to injury, their AFCON qualification run fell embarrassingly short.
We faltered when Egypt came to play here. All we needed was actually to get a win against them. And the support was there for them. Something was just not clicking with the Super Eagles. I don't understand why. We didn't qualify for 2012, won it in 2013, and didn't qualify for the next 2 editions. So that more or less says that there were some lapses as regards preparations.
And at risk of watching Russia 2018 from home has to be an all-time low for the country. And it won't get much easier for them either, as they've drawn Cameroon, a Mahrez-led Algeria, and the resurgent Zambia in the African group of death. And then there's South Africa, host of the 2010 World Cup, which heralded a new dawn for African football with shiny new stadiums, first world fan parks, and those deafening sounds of vuvuzelas. And when Sifiwe Shabalala smashed home the so-called goal for all of Africa in the opening match against Mexico, it all looked like Cinderella in the making.
You know, by this time, 7 years down the line, at least you expect to be, not a superpower, but at least to be a dominant force on the African continent.
So what are the so-called 2010 legacy? Stadiums, development centers and infrastructure intended to turn an already football-mad country into the next African giant. Well, 6 years later, South Africans have struggled to break into Europe's top flights, and those new 50,000 capacity stadiums remain embarrassingly underutilised. With South Africa's Premier League attendances hovering around 5,000 on average, fans have shown little interest in their local club since the tournament.
Our players mature far, far too late. I mean, there are guys making their international debuts, attacking players at ages 28, 29. And that really has shown the public that the legacy has It's become a bit of a falsehood. Yes, there was a legacy in theory, but there's very, very little practical that says, okay, we took the money, we put it into a certain structure, and we're just waiting for that structure to flourish. Everyone is doing their own thing.
And because the World Cup stadiums were publicly funded, they've been flipped the $3 billion bill for a tournament most could only afford to watch on TV. On the pitch, things haven't got any better for Bafana. Despite drawing twice to eventual group winners Cameroon, they could only manage a devastating 3-1 defeat to 108th ranked Mauritania.
With the lack of research done by the coach and his technical team, another poor result happened there where we lost 3-1. Because there was no research done on Mauritania, the team went there not knowing that they were going to play on artificial turf.
After which their manager, Sheikhs Mashaba, admitted to not ever studying the opposition. Sheikh's fate was sealed last month when he was sacked following a verbal altercation with the controversial South African Federation boss and 2010 World Cup head organiser, Danny Jordan. However, there is some hope for the coachless Bafana, who did beat top-ranked Senegal in their opening World Cup qualifier.
You know what, this is an opportunity, for other nations to show what they can do. People will start thinking about AFCON in a different light.
So whilst the recent AFCON shake-up has cleared the way for fresh faces like Zimbabwe, first-timers Guinea-Bissau and Uganda, who hadn't qualified since the time of Idi Amin, this year's AFCON isn't exactly the feel-good underdog story it appears to be.